Paul Cook here, and I am with a friend, Bill Gross, who he's in LA. He got up early for this. Actually, he got up a lot earlier than this. And I'm doing something new. I'm doing a podcast because I just have some incredible people that I want to introduce to you that can help you in real estate as well as in life. And this is one of them. He's become a friend and somebody that I look to, a trusted confidant and an advisor, and I guess a coach, a wise coach that I go to. So this is Bill Gross. Say hello so we can make
Hi.
sure okay, good deal. All that being said, what I really want to do with you, Bill, is I want to kind of dig into the real estate side of stuff, but also dig kind of into the personal side of stuff and let these folks get to know you some. And for anybody that's out there that's a realtor, I'd like to go into that side as well, that, just the niche of being in probate and really being a true probate expert in the real estate field. So just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you. You're married, your family.
Yeah. I'm Bill Gross. I was born and raised in Southern California. Lived here all but 2 years of my 65-year life. I've been married for 38 of those years to a wonderful woman who, thank God, is recovering from cancer. She's cancer-free. We have, God bless us with one child, despite our best efforts. But she's a wonderful daughter who's married and has given us already 2 grandkids, and they're the apples of our eye. So my wife is full-time grandma, and I see my grandkids 2 or 3 days a week and play with them. And my 3-year-old said I was his best friend this week. Oh, it just made my heart melt. So that's my real life.
That'll do
when I'm not Pa, I am a real estate broker. I have been in real estate since 1986, so same 38 years. Full-time in real estate as an agent, really just the last 5.5. I relaunched at 60 years old. I found myself where I had to really relaunch as a real estate agent, and that I'd been in management and coaching and worked for an owner who I increasingly realized why I meant to get into real estate was not to work for the man. And at the same time, our success, I think, like a lot of people, caused him to be resentful and jealous and made working harder and harder. And so after doing a great job with him for 5 years, I said to him, I don't want to do this anymore. I had no real plan, but I knew I had to do something. So I sat down and researched. I knew in real estate, the probate was a good fit for me, and that I'm older. Probate real estate tends to be a little more technical, and I'm a smart guy. And so I wanted to play to my advantages. And so I launched that business in early 2019, just when I got kind of momentum. COVID hit and wiped everything out that I've been working on, and I had to relaunch it again, which I did. And I've built a great business. I close a lot of, sell a lot of houses for families and attorneys. I've built a team underneath me of 50 agents across the country. But I think most importantly, I do it in a way that has been supported my life rather than being competition. And I designed it that way. I designed it to give me time to be my family and my spiritual practices, give me time to do exercise every day in the middle of the day, and to work with people I really enjoy and be able to choose who I work with rather than have to prostitute myself and do business with people I don't like. And so it's been my honor. I built a podcast, Probate Weekly, and along the way met Paul. And I think our relationship is a perfect example in that it's not just that you sell houses with me at a company, but I find myself attracted to men who are spiritually have a spiritual practice, whether it's mine or different. I think I'm always looking to learn and get. Paul, just the full disclosure, Paul's Christian. I'm Jewish. I'm a religious Jew. But I always look for what is it that motivates that Christian person. Where's the passion come from? What is it about that? And try to find the overlap rather than the differences. In fact, I'm studying the book of Isaiah right now because it's such a central book for Christian theology. So spirituality is an important part of my business life. I wear that on my sleeve. I'm not going to back off on it. I wear a kippah whenever I go in a black hat that Jewish men wear. I wear it in public when I go to events. So I built a business that is a reflection of who I am, not band-aided around.
So, so can you talk about that a little bit more? Because I think one of the things that stuck out to me when we first, you reached out to me because you'd seen a book that I'd co-authored on probate, and I just so happened to be at the place where I realized that where I was, kind of a little bit like you, I think, philosophically, I just didn't fit, and in real estate, and I was really exploring, looking other places, and you got on the phone with me actually a few times, and we struck a friendship actually pretty quickly, and so yeah, dig into that a little bit, because I think that's important, that you built your business around it. Your business flows out of who you are, and so what you do is affected by who you are, and that encouraged me as well. Maybe you can speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, one of my first coaches was Zig Ziglar, one of the classic kind of motivational authors. And
now, did you know him?
I had the privilege of coaching with him in person in the Dallas, Texas area for a week. I did the Train the Trainer program with him. I went a second, 1988 or so.
Wow.
And I think that part was saw him with his staff, saw him with his wife. If you know his books, he talks about his redhead, saw him with his wife, having the relationship that I wanted, or the kind of relationship that I wanted. That what he said in the book, it's one thing when people put in a book, and it's another when you go to the show and you see them on stage together. But when you're behind the scenes and nobody's looking, how does he relate to her? That's the kind of relationship I wanted to have, and a kind of person I wanted to be that was authentic, and that who I was my asset, not some liability I had to cover up and pretend to be something else. One of the things he said that stuck with me is, you can have anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. And I think that says two things. One is the focus is on being of service and helping other people, not on getting something out of it. And so many relationships, we all get into. I had a company that wanted to promote me, but the whole presentation was, well, here's all the money you'd make if from all these customers if you do these things. And it's like, well, yeah, but where's my contribution to that, and why is that important to them? So I knew right away it's just not something I wanted to be part of. You can feel that, but I think when you use the lens of how am I creating value, it helps you identify those problems. And I think the second part, it's who I want to be, who I really want to be. It's not to say I don't really want nice things. We all want nice things. But as I said to my daughter the other day, which of your kids, we watched this, summary of Taylor Swift, right? And she might be a wonderful woman. I don't know her. I have nothing against her. Multi-billionaire, not one, but 2 private jets, 12 residences around the world. I said to her, which of your kids would you trade for $500 million, 1 jet, and only 6 of the houses? And she said, none. And I'm the same way. I don't care how many. It doesn't really matter to me. And it's not just that I have grandkids. It's that I've been able to build a relationship with them in the way that I really want to. Sometimes we chase what we think we want and find out that's not really what we want. What we really want is something else. I want to be able to, I counsel people all day long. I coach agents all day long who are struggling, and they're scared. And I, often because I track people who are religious, I'll say, do you believe in God? And the answer is yes. Well, if you believe in God, you really can't be fearful of anything but Him. I mean, and I'm not saying I'm not the Bible police or anything, and I'm not here to tell people how to practice, but there is a commandment. We're only supposed to fear God. And so when we're in business, we shouldn't be coming from fear. And that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be concerned or nervous or disappointed. And we should at moments have fear, but we shouldn't let fear win the day. We should let our faith win the day, and from there, take the actions we have to. So for me, when I find myself off of who I am, business is very, very difficult. And when business is difficult, I say, well, something, I'm not aligned here because it's not supposed to be like that.
Okay, can you give an example of where you got off and you asked that question and you realized?
Yes.
Okay, good.
100%. This one's easy because it was so impactful to me. So when I started my probate business, my lead generation model was to go to court every day to generate business.
Okay.
So every day I left my house at 7:45. I was at court at 8:15. I was a suit and tie. I would wait outside the hearing rooms. I would meet attorneys. I would meet families. I generate a huge amount of business. One day I had about 25 or 28 pending escrows, awaiting court confirmation. I had a couple hundred. I had $0 when I started coming in. I had zero leads, and all of a sudden I had this huge backlog, nothing closing yet, all waiting for the court. And then COVID hit. And I'll never forget sitting at this desk crying to God, saying, what do you want from me? I've dedicated myself this last year to doing the right thing, doing it the right way, working hard every day, building a pipeline. What do you want from me? And, we both happened to be colleagues at the same company, and the company had this online meeting called Power Girls. Now, I'm not a girl. I was just desperate to interact with somebody.
Definitely
Again, this is COVID. There was no meetings. There's no place to go. There was no church. There's no synagogue meetings. There's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just so disconnected from God. I didn't realize that was the problem at the time. And so I watched this woman's meeting online. And, I'm Jewish. We don't really do prayer circles. I know prayer circle is a fairly common experience in Christian evangelical Christians world. It's not common in Judaism. We don't really do it. And I watched them do this prayer circle, and I was just crying in tears, feeling abandoned by God. And one of the girls said, hey, do you want to join the circle? I'm the only guy in the room. I'm not there to hit up on them. I'm just there because I was that desperate.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, yeah, I've never done. And they said, well, it's your turn to say a prayer. Do you want to say something? And again, normally as religious Jews, we have very structured prayers. We don't normally just come from the heart. And I remember just crying, and somehow came to me. I said, God, please give me the strength. I know this is going to be a very difficult chapter of life going forward. Give me the strength to lead those people who need leadership. I'm strong. I'm going to get through this one way or the other. I know you've given me those tools. You've given me that ability. Please help me be the one, calling me to be the one to help other people. And I heard that. I said, Bill, what did you say? Where'd that come from? But God did give me the ability to speak. He gave me the ability to lead. He gave me a connection with him that's been strong through my life. And as a result, I've been able to, in my own modest way, lead people, my family, my friends, my community, and business associates. And as long as I focus on helping other people, my business has just been really easy. And I'll just share with you one example of that.
Okay, good.
I know I share with you one of my best friends who, without getting too personal, went in service. And then while he was overseas, his wife had an affair with a mutual friend. And the mutual friend basically drove him out of our community. And he was so distraught, he attempted suicide. I took on personally my friend, helping him, calling him every day, keeping him connected. Mm-hmm. And I had another attorney call me about a piece of business that was perfect for that friend. And so that friend now is a fiduciary on a $40 million estate that he's making really good money. Now it's tough. It's hard business and he's struggling there, but all good business is hard. And that's just how God designed the world. By helping him, I have $10 million of listings. I didn't do it to get listings. I did it to help him. It turned out that my friend's financial fortune has turned around, but more than that, he's done a good job for the attorney, and everything else that goes along with it. So the answer to the question is, I think that when I've, the few times in my life that I really felt broken, somehow I turned my attention to God and he had his hand out to me. And I just had to be awake enough to reach out and say, show me the path you want me to go on. And I've done my best. I'm sure I've fallen short, but I try to get myself up and do it again the next day.
Yeah. That's a great example. I think that's helpful for me. It's instructive for me too. I know we've talked a lot over the years about, things that I've wrestled with as well. And it's been helpful, just your transparency and how you've walked through it, right. And, when you miss it, you've admitted that, and that's been helpful. So you've been in real estate since, you said 86, but really on outside of just strictly the coaching or the managerial side, the last 5.5, 6 years or so.
Right.
And I'm just thinking, as that's a big change to go from coaching and
Yeah.
managing into real estate, what kind of challenges did you see moving from that to the other? Because I know that some of that transferred, because now you're doing a lot of coaching and you have your own podcast as well, and a lot of that could transfer in some ways, at least in how it works itself out. But on the real estate side, moving from that into real estate, what did you notice as your challenges?
Well, I think, again, the biggest challenge always is internal. It's fear. Because at the end of the
Okay,
day, you just have to draw a plan and execute the plan. And what holds us back is fear. Fear to create the plan or fear to executing it. I think the thing that worked for me was I did an assessment. And there are three things I had to identify. What am I good at? Right? And there are some things in life I'm really good at and some things I'm not good at. But there's certain things I'm really good at. I want to play to those strengths. You think in sports, like in football, if you're the team with the bigger linemen, you want to run the ball. If you're the team with the faster guys, you want to pass the ball. Just use a simple example. So I wanted to play to my strengths, which I thought were experience and technical knowledge. I learn quick. I feel like my intelligence quotient is high. Maybe my emotional quotient is lower. I'm not as connect. It's harder for me to connect and to work with that. But I do want to find an area of real estate that focused on the technical knowledge. Second was I wanted to leverage the people I did know. I think the biggest mistake people make in all businesses is they want to say, well, I know all these people, but I don't want to bother them. I want to do some new program and get some new leads and get some new cold call thing and some new referral source. And I think that's really an insult to yourself and to your life, because people know, like, and trust you. Why would you not want to help them first?
yeah,
Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to work with me. The truth is, I've been a leader in my synagogue for 25, 28 years. I've been a president. I've been the gabbai, which means I run the services on behalf of the rabbi. I've been at the highest levels for continually. There are plenty of people who will never do business with me. That's their mistake. I don't really worry about it. But there are people who I've helped get houses and move in our community because of my technical knowledge, and they deserve to have the opportunity to do business with me. And so I think sometimes we get caught up on those who don't, and we therefore miss those who would. And so I want to leverage the people they know. That's the biggest mistake people make, is they ignore that asset. That's the biggest asset in our business at any stage of your career, are the people that know, like, and trust you. And I would always say, get all that organized, whether it be your Christmas card list or your wedding list or your whatever, all of it into one place. It could be, a shoebox. It could be an Excel spreadsheet. It could be a list on your phone. It could be a CRM, a customer relationship management program. But somewhere we have everybody. And then your job is to help those people. And then add to those people, add new people into that list, but help the people who are in your list. And what that means. And so whatever your business you're in, you want to learn about what your customers need to know and then share that with them. And I also think the thing that we make the mistake on, we think we want to be the person that when customers say, oh, I want to sell a house, they call you. Of course. But we really want to be the person when somebody says, I have a problem with my house, right? My uncle died and left me the house. I don't know what to do. Well, if I know what to do, I can help. I'll get the chance to sell the house. My first, it's so funny. I heard this concept in my probate training when I first started it. I took this class and I learned about probate, and I started calling everybody on my list. And this is exactly what I did. I made my list. I had about 500 people that I knew. Again, a little more than most. We had a wedding that we threw, so I had a list. And I called A through Z was the plan. I got to the D's. And D was an attorney. He wasn't a probate attorney. But he said to me, I have this client who has a problem with her lot line. Can you help her? And I said, sure. Can I help her? Help her might just mean make a phone call and find out what a problem is and refer to somebody else. I didn't pretend that I'm a geologist or I'm some sort of surveyor. So I called this lady, and she was a widower. Her husband of 50 years had passed. He had managed this apartment building, and there was a dispute with a neighbor about a fence. And she's calling me. She knows nothing about real estate. She says, can you help me? Can you come by and look at it? Now, normally, That's not the work I do. But, this nice, sweet woman, my heart bled for her. 50 years. I can only imagine if that was my wife. She was totally lost. I drove an hour to her house. We walked, sweet old lady, just the kind of person when you're a little kid, you grew up and she's the one who would have,
Yeah.
give you a sandwich and soup on a cold day. And I walked around the property with her. And at the end of the walk, she said to me, can you just sell this for me? And so my listing presentation, my first one was, yeah, sure. And I listed this 60 apartment building. And so then I thought, well, what would she like? She would like me to deliver her the proceeds check. In California, so often now we overnight the proceeds check or we wire the money. I said, you know what, to escrow, let me pick up the check and deliver it to her house. It was an hour away on a Friday. I remember I went to her house and she was in tears because she didn't have a man to help her anymore. I was it, in her life. And she was crying. She said, I always wanted to live with my sister in Arizona. Can you help me sell this house, her residence? Can you help me sell this house so I can move? And so my second listing presentation was, yeah, sure, why not? And I sold that house. And so here I had nothing to do with probate, had nothing to do with the scripts, the dialogues, the leads, the Zillow leads. It was just a friend of a friend or client of a friend who had a problem, who I looked at the problem, and because I was there to help her, said, can you sell my house? And so it's just stuck with me. My job is to help people who have problems. And sometimes the help means I sell their house. Sometimes it means I bring to somebody who can help them solve the problem. And as a result, I've had more people who need me to sell their house than I could imagine over the last 5 years.
Yeah. So just kind of recap those three. First, you did this assessment of yourself. What are you good at? Right. And then what was the second one? Who do I know?
Well, first, I would say the three things would be, what am I good at?
Okay.
What does the market need?
Okay.
And what do I like to do? The intersection of those three things is where you want your work to be. I mean, I'm good at a lot of things. I'm a good cold caller. I didn't want to do that anymore.
Okay.
Does cold calling work? Yeah, sure. I did it for years, but I don't want to do it anymore. It doesn't really leverage my strength. It doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah.
So those three things. So I did like learning. I did like going to court and meeting attorneys and families and watching the judge. So my lead generation, instead of cold calling on the phone or mailing or whatever, what do I like to do? I like going to court. So against the intersection of those three areas of what am I good at? What does the market need? And then what do I want to do? And avoid what I don't want to do. Because if you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it. I learned this. I remember struggling physically. I met with a rabbi. I had been playing full court basketball. I injured myself, couldn't play anymore. I was putting weight on. And I was trying to go to the gym. And I couldn't go. I hated it. I hate going to the gym. I went early, went late. It was crowded. And he said, Bill, you just hate going to the gym. It's okay. And I said, yeah. He says, what do you like to do? I said, well, when I was a kid, I loved to swim. I was on a swim team. I played water polo. He goes, well, why don't you swim instead? And so I've organized my whole work schedule so that I can leave 11:30, swim for an hour. I live in Southern California. Most days it's beautiful outside. I swim outside rather than inside. I found a swim team with an Olympic coach. So because I like it, I do it regularly. I'm one of the very few realtors in America that can swim a 100-meter butterfly. So it's just one of those.
That'd be true.
So it's just one of those things where I think in business too, if you don't like it, you're not going to do it. So make sure you find. I like interviewing people. I like talking to Paul Cook. This is business for me, right? Whether it be helping promote your business or using you to promote my channel and my business, I like this. And so as long as you're doing what you like, that's great. And
so why don't we do a selfless plug right here for your channel? So what would your channel be?
Well, you can find me at billgrossprobate.com. It has kind of everything I'm doing on it. It's a list of links. Bill Gross, which is my name, probate.com. And one of the main things my podcast is Probate Weekly, which is I interview attorneys and realtors and vendors on how to build their business in probate real estate. Yeah,
I think those three things are key for anything that somebody's doing. It's very helpful. Because I know even at this point, we've had discussions about this recently, even with me. What is it? What is my niche supposed to be? What's it supposed to look like? And it's interesting that this is part of it. This is really a part of what, God would have me do. I really believe that. And I'm just grateful that you're on here and you're so outspoken about your own faith, because what we believe shapes what we do and how we do it. And sometimes what I find is that what I'm doing is actually revealing what I really believe in that moment or in that season, what I'm really buying into. And it took me a while to get to a place in real estate where I could find someone like yourself that could help to keep me focused on things that really are most important. Because the rest, I mean, it's not just real estate, it's all throughout Western culture and beyond, is that, we do all this. Why? Because we want to be rich, and we want to be famous, or we want better, more stuff. But when we really dig down, is that what we want? Is that what we really want? And I think that's what you kept digging at with me, but also you've come to that place in your own life. And that's why it's so peaceful to be able to talk with you, because you're at peace with where you are and how you do business. And it's not that you don't learn and grow in that, but you're not trying to strive to be something that somebody else has placed on you. You know how to do real estate. Not that you can't learn how to do it better, but you know how to do real estate. You are an expert in the area of probate. And and that's one place I'd like to go a little bit, because I think that could serve some people. When you finally got clarification that probate was where you're supposed to be, and maybe you want to expound on that a little bit, but what did you find were so even before probate, were you, in the real estate circles that you were in, were you dealing with probate, but not necessarily probate on the selling and buying side?
I think, like all real estate agents, occasionally came across a deal that was probate, and
Okay.
it wasn't worth enough to really learn it. And sometimes we want to just kind of get through that deal,
Right.
and which I think is a missed opportunity in retrospect. At one point during my coaching, I came across the opportunity of probate as a way to help my agents who wanted to find a niche and work on. And I invited in a title representative who made this his area, and he would coach up realtors on how to get business in probate. And I was intrigued by it. And so that when I left coaching, that stayed in my mind that was a niche, that was one that agents didn't take a professional approach to. And I think in most things, I think most endeavors, there are people who are average. The average agent is average, right?
Mm-hmm.
By definition, mathematically. So, for example, not really learning the forms that we have there's a difference between knowing enough to fill out a form to get a contract accepted and really knowing every single word and being able to explain to your customer, but more importantly, be able to use those forms to protect your customer. There's a difference. In the probate, same thing, that there's a difference between, I know that in this kind of case, it needs a court confirmation. Okay, but what does that mean? What are the potential pitfalls there? What are the potential problems there? What's the best practice to avoid those problems? And so I think I saw that as an opportunity to really dig in deep. And it's not that every deal I do is probate. It's that every deal I do comes from somebody who sees me as an expert in probate.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back to the time of COVID, without getting into the politics of all that, it's one thing to get your news from the news channel or from a newspaper, but imagine if your best friend was a world-renowned brain surgeon, had nothing to do with COVID, but he's one of the most renowned doctors in the world. Wouldn't you at least ask him his opinion on how you should respond to COVID? Should I wear a mask? Should I get the vaccine? Not to say that he would tell you the answer and it'd be right, but at least you would want to factor in his opinion before you made a decision. Mm-hmm. As a realtor, that's what I want to be. Just because I'm a probate expert doesn't mean you'll call me when it comes time to sell your house locally, but it means you probably will, if you know, like, and trust me, at least say, well, he's an expert in probate. He must, and I get this a lot, well, you must know something about regular houses. I have a question. That's exactly the kind of phone calls you want. Mm-hmm. So I think that it changes the relationship from, I'm just another realtor. There's 50 in every neighborhood. They hold open houses, they have balloons, They have candies, and there's the cute girls in the bikinis, and there's the guys on the Lamborghinis. I'm neither one of those. But I am the guy who's the probate expert. And to people who see that as a important badge of competency, they're going to call me, at least enough due, to say, how can you help me? And I try to help them.
Yeah. I know we only have a few minutes left here, but one of the things that I'm hoping that anybody that watches this will see is just that you're you. You're not, and I love that you're not about the hype. You're not about the show. You're not. I never get the idea that you're trying to impress me. I never get the idea that you're full of yourself. Not that, we all can struggle with pride issues, and we do at times. But I've never heard you try to sell yourself to me. I've only heard you try to help me, and that's affected how, because my business model was very different coming in. Even though I've been a pastor and everything else like that, my business model didn't match up with what was in my heart. A lot of times I struggled with that. Right. And just being able to dialogue with you and become a friend with you has helped to, there are other factors obviously and other people, but and God most directly, but he used you to help to give me that freedom just to be able to say, you know what, this does not fit. This is not me. Right. And from that, it's interesting because even in the last few months, I've just seen when a lot of people are saying on this end that the market is constricting and it's volatile, and I've just noticed people calling me up and saying, hey, can you help me with this? I've got a question about this. So it's just mirroring what you're saying. And it really is in my heart that I want to help people. And that's why I'm actually doing these podcasts. I'm not doing this for any reason. I want to put you forward. I want you to put you in their life and have them have a Bill Gross that they can go to, or at least they can have as someone that they can be encouraged to walk out who they are and who God made them to be, where God has them, whether it's real estate, whether it's being a doctor. So in these last couple of minutes, I just want to throw it your way. And is there anything that you would want to say to folks that might tune into this?
Well, the first thing is that my heart is so warm that you would compliment me in that way. Of all things to say, it just feels so good, to have somebody say, I appreciate you for helping me, rather than, wow, you have 10 million views and I'm really impressed by you. I don't have 10 million views. I'm just saying, as opposed to that person.
Right. Right.
And I think at the risk of being too spiritual, because you've also given back to me a lot. I don't know that you recognize it as much. I went through a very challenging spiritual period where I changed from one rabbi to another. I went from one spiritual leader or mentor to another, and you were kind of my interim as I went down the path of finding that new relationship and help guide me. When I had the person to turn to, it was really you at that time as that mentor or spiritual leader. And you're not Jewish, but somehow you made that work for me. I think the thing that I would say, at the risk of sounding too spiritual, and I'm not a full-time rabbi. I'm not a rabbi at all. I'm not a pastor. I'm just a guy doing business who happens to have a strong faith in God. But that strength is my foundation. Mm-hmm. And we say that, and I think sometimes we say it and forget what that really means. I think that, that we work is because we're commanded to in the Bible. It's not a coincidence. I think there's a spiritual battle in the world going on in so many different levels, and multimedia is just attacking us. You can't watch a sporting event without, I think, spiritual forces of evil attacking you. Now, you can set up filters and pay attention and watch it with your wife and tune out of certain things or whatever, not get caught up in the rabbit holes. But it is overwhelming. You can't watch a sporting event anymore or entertainment or movie theater without being attacked nonstop. On the flip side, that means that we therefore have to be clear on our mission and play as hard as the forces of evil do. The forces of good need to play as clear and as hard as well. And so I think that what you see in me is I look back at my life and realize a lot of those mistakes in my business and said, I don't want to do that anymore. And I'm gonna do the best I can of my work as a reflection of a relationship with God, not tempered by that relationship, not limited by that relationship, but no, what's God want me to do in business?
Yeah.
And do that. And the rest will just have to take care of itself. And it has taken
Yeah.
care of itself. And so
Yeah.
I think and it sounds arrogant, and I'm only saying this because you didn't bring it up, and I appreciate your compliment, but I really just want to urge people, if you're not feeling in your heart that alignment between your work and your person, it's because you're not aligned, and
Right.
probably means you're not aligned with the
Right.
ultimate. And to your point, for example, when people say the market is this, the market is that, at a theoretical level, when you say something else has power over your life, you are worshiping that thing as being powerful, other than, if you're religious, there's only one power, that's God. So the market isn't hard or weak or strong or good or bad. It is. My job is to play the cards that are dealt to me the best that I can and best of my ability in a faithful manner. And so, I would never have felt the market, other than the day I was, looking at my situation, but I did see it as being overwhelming. I just felt that's the path I have to go through. God, how do I get through this path? And he
Yeah.
gave me the support, and he gave me the way to get there. And so I think the thing I would say is, if it seems hard, you're probably not doing it right. If it seems hard emotionally, it means you're not aligned, and take the time to check yourself and get aligned.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, I would echo that. And it's what I've seen as well on my side is that it's a process as well. It's not like we ever necessarily arrive there, although I'd like to arrive there. Sometimes
Yeah.
I feel like I'm closer to arriving than other times, but that process is very important. It's as important, or maybe more important, than the destination, because I know where my destination is, and I know who holds my destination. It's between here and now. It's those in between moments, listening for God and adjusting with how He wants you to adjust.
Right.
And so that, I again appreciate you. I appreciate the time